If you have dumbbells, here's 5 simple lower body exercises that you can do from home. Now that you've seen them all, let's go through them in a little bit more detail. You can either use one heavy weight or 2 lighter weights for these exercises. For the heavier one, I would suggest holding like this. So if tuck your elbows in as close to the weight as you can, and it will just support it there. If you have lighter ones, then I like to rest them onto my shoulders like this whilst doing the exercises, because for the lower body bits, you don't want the limiting factor to be the strain on your arms. To begin with, you want to make sure that your feet are around about shoulder width apart, and then from here you're letting your bum drop whilst trying to keep your chest upright. One of the most common mistakes that we see with the squat is people basically just bending over and not having much movement from the hip. So you want to make sure that all your downwards movement is coming from the hip rather than the shoulder just drooping forward. So something like this. So this is where my shoulder is. If you're doing it wrong, you can get the shoulder into the same level, but just basically bending over and with very little movement from the hip. Now, everybody is going to be able to get to a different depth, so don't worry if you can only get to around about here. Whatever you can get to at the moment is absolutely fine. With a weight, you're going to hold it up here and just do the same movement, trying to make sure that the extra weight on the front is not causing you to lean forward as you do. If the weight is a little bit too heavy, you can hold it across your shoulder like this as you're going down, so hopefully take that leaning forward tendency out. You're going to start this one with your feet slightly closer together, and when starting here, you want to make sure that a lot of the movement is coming from your hip being pushed outwards and then pivoting forward. So most of the movement is coming around the hip region rather than bending the knee region. So I'm just going to put the weight up. So starting from here, what you're going to do is unlock your knees so you've got soft knees. If you try and keep your legs completely locked out, then it makes all your hamstring, all the muscles around here tight, so it stops you, particularly if you've got tight hamstrings like me, it stops you from being able to do the correct movement at the hip. So take hold of your weight, unlock your knees, and you're going to push your bum backwards and then pivot forward to the ground. So you see how the knee has moved has bent a tiny amount, but most of the bend has come from the hip here, whilst trying to keep the back as neutral as possible, and then back to standing. So push the bum out, pivot forward, and then back to standing like that. Another common mistake with the deadlift is that the shoulders start to droop, which pull the upper back into curving like this. Now, for lighter weights, it's not the end of the world, but if you want to start to progress with the deadlift, try to keep your back as neutral as possible is key. So it should just look like this. It's really difficult to know if you're doing the right thing with this one, so I would suggest doing it in front of a mirror. So you're going to start with your feet together, and one leg stays, so the leg that's not moving stays completely firm in one place, it doesn't move at all. And what you're going to do is step forward and then push yourself back using this, using the leg that's moved forward. So in this case, left leg stays planted, right leg's coming forward, and then both the leading leg and the the leg at the back are both bending. So don't try and keep this leg straight. So let it like you're kneeling just before the floor, and then push yourself back up. Now the key with the lunge as well is that you go into a depth that feels okay for you. So with the weight again, you want to try and make sure that you keep your body upright, and you're just going to step, keep the body upright, push away with the leg that's in front of you and back to standing. And then with this one you can either do it all on one leg and then do the other leg, or just alternate in between, but obviously make sure you do the same number on each leg, otherwise you're going to create hell of an imbalance there. Now one of the most common mistakes that we see with the lunge is that both legs tend to shuffle about to get into the right position, which you want to try and avoid. So what we tend to see a lot of is this sort of like step forward, step back, and you're sort of getting yourself down into position, and then you're taking yourself back out of it. But really you don't want to lose that explosion from here to get yourself back up to standing. The reverse lunge is very similar to the forward lunge, apart from the movement is backwards, and then you're using the leg that's moved to push yourself back forwards. Okay, so again, one leg stays completely static and the other one is stepping back and doing the movement. Both legs are bent, so we tend to see a lot of people do this one with the rear leg straight, but allow it to bend and then push yourself back up to standing. Similarly, when you're holding the weight, you just want to make sure that you're just able to keep yourself as upright as possible as you're stepping back into the reverse lunge, and make sure that you're really pushing with this rear leg to get yourself back up to standing. Another common mistake that we get with both the forward lunge and the reverse lunge is that people tend to keep themselves quite close, so it makes it a really awkward movement. So the bigger the step, the more comfortable it's going to feel. So we saved the hardest till last. Now, a split squat looks very similar to a lunge. Now the main difference between a lunge and a split squat is that the split squat is static, so none of the feet are moving for this one. So you start in this split position, and again, you want to make sure that the gap between your feet is quite wide, because the closer you are, the more awkward it makes the whole movement. So open yourself up, get your balance, and then you're going to lower yourself down and back up. So this is a really tough exercise if you don't have great balance. So it's not only going to help strengthen your legs, but also just create some general balancing improvements. So it's one that you probably want to use a lighter weight with, and so gradually build yourself up with this one, and just try and focus on keeping yourself as steady as possible. Now this leg can be lowered or raised depending on how easy you find it. So to make it a little bit easier, you can just do the same movement from the ground like this, so just dropping up and down. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you're kept up to date with the most recent videos that we're posting. Also have a look through the channel, because we've got plenty of short hit sessions, stuff for seniors, stuff for kids. So have a good look through there and enjoy.